At 15, I became an office boy on the London Daily Mail. Part of my job was occasionally to take cartoons up to the darkroom. As soon as I walked into the darkroom and I saw photographs in a tray just developing in front of my eyes, this was total magic for me. So that was where my initial interest in photography happened. When you were Irish in London in the 60s, it was never a place, it was never home. I mean, you know, we had our compatriots there, we had our sort of, you know, our Kilburns and our Ealings and our various places we congregated, but we also had our church, our poetry, our faith, our music, and that kept us together. But it was always like going home. You were always going home. That was the joy. But I went back with my aunt and uncle. I remember in 1963, a cousin of mine, Beau Rochford, he was getting married. He asked me will I take some photographs? And at that moment, things were starting to happen for me, because I realized then that I came from a certain tradition in Ireland, which in the Ireland of today of Celtic tigers and a lot of the bullshit which was associated with that thing, people were almost embarrassed to talk about tradition. So that was the beginning. I realized that this was my vocation to a degree. I was going to photograph my tradition, where I came from. And to this day, as I look around, you know, in the gallery here, which I feel honoured and privileged to see my work here, and I look at the pictures of Athy, they still remain to me the most important set of photographs I have ever taken. This is everybody's mother and father. They're not total strangers. They're not theatrical sort of people. They're real people who, in essence, gave us our poetry, our beliefs, our faith, and I'm honoured to be part of that. So for me, those photographs of Athy, which I'm really proud of, were the introduction for me to meet one of the greatest dramatists of the 20th century. During the 70s, Samuel Beckett's plays were being performed at the Royal Court Theatre and elsewhere, and I would photograph the plays. But I didn't get an opportunity to meet the author until 1980, when a friend of mine was working at the Hyde Park Hotel. He said, "John, Samuel Beckett is staying at the hotel." And I couldn't believe this. And I thought about, how can I meet Sam? But knowing what I did know, you can't just photograph Beckett, you have to offer him something. And I knew that 20 of those photographs, which you see hanging on the wall of the wake of Katie Tyrrell, would be an introduction to Sam. He had a room at the back overlooking Hyde Park, and he just looked at the photographs as if he was scanning, to use that sort of phrase, and really wanted to see. And I'm sitting in the chair watching this supremely gifted individual, someone I'd read about for 10 years who had eluded me. And Sam was there looking at my photograph saying, "Who he?" And I said, "That's Peter Boland. Nice portrait." He's telling me. And suddenly at that moment, I realized that I had been photographing Beckettian characters. Suddenly, this monumental writer of the 20s is writing my captions for me. In September 1980, I mean, I'm working as a newspaper photographer. There was a story in the Daily Mail that Prince Charles was now seeing Lady Diana Spencer. The young Diana was working in a kindergarten in London, so I was dispatched down there to get a photograph of this young, vivacious, bubbly teenager. I introduced myself as representing the London Evening Standard, and could I take a photograph of her? I remember her saying, "How do you want me?" And as I said, there's this vision in front of me. And I took her outside into the sunshine. And as soon as I looked in my viewfinder and I saw her innocently holding the hand of one of the children and lifting up the other, I could see the sun, just the light. Her dress was completely illuminated. And since then, of course, the picture's gone into its own, it's part of the royal history now, it's part of her life. It'll always be there, you know. There's a generation who don't understand or know what it is to see a print developing, an image appearing before your very eyes. Like when I first saw the image of Samuel Beckett. When I took the photograph, I knew what happened, but when I saw that black and white, it's almost he's coming back to life. I mean, for me at that moment, it's magic. But there's a generation who don't understand that thing about, you know, the magic and mystery of looking at an image appearing before. That's magic. And miracles are constantly happening for people who believe. And it's not about the now of time. Bing! Oh yeah, got that. Give me another gin and tonic. Life's a little, not quite as transient as that, you know. I still believe in miracles. I want to believe in miracles, you know. And thank God I do.